Version 4 of the 6.7 beta just dropped yesterday, and with it came a flood of new information, character changes, Stellar Superconduct buffs, and something completely unexpected hiding in the code that nobody was anticipating. In this video, we are going through everything that came out of the V4 beta drop. Let's get into it. Genshin beta updates move fast and I cover every significant change immediately. Subscribe and turn on notifications so you do not miss anything as 6.7 gets closer. Now let me explain why we have so much information suddenly. Quick context on why V4 drops matter. The 6.7 beta started in mid-May and has been running through multiple iterations V1, V2, V3, and now V4. Each new build is where Wriothesley tests balance adjustments, adds features, and fixes issues. V4 specifically dropped recently, and data miners and leakers including Uncle SC, Kuru, and the Meow's community went through it immediately. This is why you are seeing a spike in new information all at once. It is the standard V4 wave that always generates significant leak activity. The beta is still ongoing, so V5 changes may follow. But here is everything confirmed from V4 right now, starting with Stellar Superconduct changes because the reaction system itself got meaningfully updated, and this affects everything else. The reaction now has a duration increase, both the Stellar Conduct buff duration and the elemental application window extended from 3 seconds to 4 seconds. That is a 33% longer window to work with. In practice, this sounds small, but it is genuinely significant. Slower attack animations, character swap timing, and multi-hit sequences all benefit from having more room to breathe before the buff expires. The stack generation system was also refined. Currently in V4, you earn 1 stack for every 3 hits of normal cryo or electro damage. On top of that, you earn an additional stack for each instance of Stellar Superconduct damage itself. The maximum stack count was increased to 12, and the recording window that tracks hits was also extended to 4 seconds, matching the duration change. This matters because earlier beta iterations made stack generation feel punishing. Average stacks in play were landing around 6 out of the old 10 maximum, which felt underwhelming for a flagship new reaction. With the V4 adjustments, theory crafters are now projecting average stacks in the 9 to 11 range in optimized cryo and electro compositions. The maximum multiplier at 12 stacks reaches a clean 2.0 times. The reaction went from feeling clunky to feeling competitive and smooth. The important note here is that V4 tuning rewards dedicated cryo and electro teams. Hybrid teams that dilute their hit count with other elements benefit less. The system is encouraging commitment to the archetype, which is correct game design for a reaction that is meant to define a new era. Now, Sandrone's signature weapon changes. This is a mixed result. The ATK buff on the weapon was increased significantly from 16% up to 28%. That is a meaningful, general performance improvement across all of her damage. However, the Stellar Conduct specific damage buff was reduced from 20% down to 16%. So, the weapon's unique reaction amplification slightly weakened while the baseline ATK contribution strengthened. Community rate on this is net positive overall. The ATK increase is a broadly applicable multiplier that touches everything she does. The reaction DNG reduction is narrow, and the net damage calculation in most team contexts still comes out ahead compared to earlier versions. But it does soften the weapon's identity as a dedicated reaction enhancer. It is a design trade-off, choosing general reliability over specialized peak performance. Miko changes, her passive, called the Shrine Sacred Shade, had its additional Electro DMG instance increased from 125% up to 150%. This is approximately a 20% increase to that specific damage component. It is not a complete kit overhaul, but it is a clean, directional buff that improves her off-field electro presence, which is exactly what the Stellar Superconduct ecosystem needs from her. Her role in these teams is to provide frequent, off-field electro hits to generate stacks and keep the reaction field active. Increasing the damage on those hits is the right kind of buff for her intended function here. Mains are calling this a solid win. Combined with the stack generation improvements, the experience of running her in Stellar Superconduct teams should feel noticeably better. Wriothesley changes, and this is the character who got the most significant treatment in V4. His passive, called There Shall Be an Unveiling for Injustice, had its chilling penalty damage values boosted substantially. The multipliers went from 40% and 60% of original cryo DMG up to 60% and 80% respectively. That is a flat 20 percentage point increase across both tiers. At C2, the numbers jump even higher, from 60% and 90% up to 90% and 120% of original cryo DMG. The C2 version is particularly notable because 120% means chilling penalty at the constellation level is now dealing more than a base hit it is amplifying. Theory crafters are projecting Wriothesley at 100,000 plus DPS even in suboptimal setups when these buffs are active in Stellar Superconduct teams. Combined with the extended reaction duration and improved stack generation. From the system changes, he is now one of the strongest beneficiaries of the entire new reaction archetype. Wriothesley mains who have been patient are being rewarded significantly with these V4 numbers. The overall picture for Wriothesley is duration and stack improvements make the reaction easier to maintain. His passive multipliers received a direct buff, and his C2 scaling becomes legitimately powerful. This is the Wriothesley comeback arc. Now, the thing nobody expected from V4 hidden in the beta code data mines, Nintendo's which login supports strings. Specifically, the strings found include text reading, new Nintendo Switch account user, need to bind Wriothesley account, handling Nintendo Switch specific login tokens labeled NS login, and error handling related to reinitializing the Nintendo Switch Pro controller. This is not a rumor or speculation. This is actual code that exists in the 6.7 beta files, and what it confirms is that Wriothesley is actively preparing native Nintendos which support infrastructure inside the game right now. The context here is important. Wriothesley announced Switch compatibility years ago and it was delayed indefinitely. Traces of Switch-related code started appearing around the 6.5 builds, but it was minimal and ambiguous. V4 of the 6.7 beta, significantly more concrete. Login managers, token handling, controller initialization errors. This is the code of a feature being actively built and tested, not placeholder code sitting unused. The timing speculation in the community centers on the 6.7 special program around June 19th as a potential announcement window or a nearby Nintendo Direct. The switch to hardware is the relevant target since original Switch hardware is genuinely too weak to run Genshin at acceptable performance levels. Switch 2 has sufficient power, and a login manager infrastructure means account linking between platforms is being specifically developed. No official confirmation yet, this is still internal development work, that the progression from minimal code in 6.5 to active login infrastructure in 6.7 V4 is a meaningful jump that suggests the announcement is closer than people expected. Putting V4 together as a whole, Stellar Superconduct went from an interesting but clunky new reaction to a genuinely competitive and smooth system. 4-second windows, average stacks jumping to the 9 to 11 range, and a clean 2.0 times multiplier at 12 stacks. Sandrone's signature weapon became more reliable at the cost of some specialization. Miko got a clean 20% buff to her off-field Electro damage. Wriothesley received the strongest direct treatment, passive multipliers up significantly, C2 reaching 120% of original cryo damage, and theory crafters projecting 100,000 plus DPS in Stellar Superconduct teams. And Nintendo's, which login code confirmed in the files for the first time at this level of concrete implementation. The 6.7 special program on June 19th is where official confirmation on banners, rewards, and potentially Switch news will come. I will cover everything immediately when it drops. Subscribe so you do not miss the June 19th stream coverage. Leave a like if this V4 breakdown was useful. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one.